1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, good newcomers! Yay! Awesome, exciting. So, if you don't, you're not familiar with me, I have a tendency to surprise you with interactivity. So, if you're here to rest, do that now for about the next 20 minutes, and then the resting will stop. I do make sure that someone shuts the door so you can't leave. So this is your chance. I'm just teasing you. If you need to leave at some point, get up and go, no problem. I would put your phones on vibrate or however you need to do that, just so that you're not disturbed this morning. As you can see, we don't have a projector or a screen, and I started to get a kick out of that because we improvise a lot in our business. Who's going to the show tonight, by the way? I should see all hands by the end of this presentation. We will make sure it's all hands. So later tonight you'll be at Carolina Improv, and you'll see how we improvise on a stage versus improvising in front of this room without a projector or a screen. But we have a really pretty PowerPoint presentation that we're happy to send to you because it's pretty. And I was very excited. You're the first one to see our new brand. So today we're talking about why your marketing isn't working and how to fix it. And before we do that, just kind of a brief overview of who I am. I said to Brad, please don't read my bio because I hate standing here and hearing be talked about. Does anyone ever get weird about that? It's just like I'm in the room and you're talking, it's just odd. So our company, here's the new announcement, is Pivot 10 Results. So exciting, isn't that, Byron? So Pivot 10 Results is the new company name for our training division. A lot of you know us as Carolina Improv Company. We for a while were Gina and Company as we were trying to figure out what we should grow up and be. And now we launched in 2016 Pivot 10 Results. And what our company does, we're a training company, and we focus on leadership, customer service, and sales, and integrating the three, because what happens is all three are necessary for you to be productive and profitable, because a lot of times we get called in for, hey, we have a customer service problem, can you train our people to do better customer service? But we get in and we find out that the managers have bigger problems than the employees. Anyone ever relate to that? Sometimes, right? So we can't fix the customer service or the sales until we fix some of the cultural things, but nobody wants to buy culture and leadership. They just don't have the money for that. So we are now integrating that, and that's what Pivot 10 Results does. So that's a little bit about us. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, because I want to talk about you, and I want to talk about your marketing and what's not working for you. Can anybody share with me some of the things or some of the frustrations you're having in your marketing approach or your marketing efforts? This is where the interactivity starts. Anyway, Byron.
Email's dead.
Email's dead.
Email marketing seems like it's that gets less and less penetration over the past few years. It used to be that faxes, when you do fax bombs, no, it was email bombs and trying to get the message out. Now email's really tracked off over the past few years, and social media has risen. That's some of the observations I've seen.
That's great, and thank you. Karen, would you mind? Thank you so much. So, by the way, with me today is Karen McCool. She's also a trainer, leadership trainer. She came here to hang out and see what I do. And Heather is our business manager, and she just keeps me together.
I try.
Keeps me together because I lose things. So she keeps our business together. What else? Yes. What's your name?
D. Whitting.
D. And where are you from? What's your?
All over the place.
What venue are you representing?
All over the
place. Perfect.
But I'm working with a group in Tennessee, and we're just getting a project started. And we just, what markets do we hit? Where do we concentrate? We're at the very bottom.
Okay.
We're just developing several different projects, campground, bed and breakfast, several different things that we're doing.
Okay, so kind of who we targeting?
We're going to target just how do we get started?
How do you get started? Okay. And where in Tennessee?
It's going to be on the Cumberland Plateau.
Where would that be?
That's up towards McMinnville, off 111 to 4, and it goes up through.
So if I were looking at a map and there's Nashville and there's Memphis.
Nashville's an hour and a half away.
Okay.
Chattanooga is about 45.
Okay. Thank you. Who else?
trying to explain to your support team that marketing is kind of everybody's job, not just the marketing department and the marketing person's job, and let them explain
I'm sorry, you're
they're
triggering some
actually
pain
all
points.
part of a marketing plan.
Yes. Yes, remind me to tell you about something crazy I just did with our theater team along those levels, right? Yeah, so, which you see how the NAP sort of fits into a leadership issue, right? Because that becomes a management issue of how do we inspire our team to kind of help carry the message, right? Real frustrating, really fast story. So our theater, which you'll be at tonight, all of you better be there, our performers, they become performers after taking classes, and part of their development is being on stage and performing, and they don't get paid to perform. That's their development time. So they come and they perform, but they don't market the fact that they're in a show, and so then they don't get an audience, and then they can't perform in front of anybody, and they get frustrated with me, and I finally just put my foot down and said, if you don't start like sharing the Facebook post or telling your friends or giving out the like thousands of comp passes I've given you, like something's gonna give. So starting today, February 1st, we created what we called the Marketing Co-op Fund, and in order to perform, they all have to pay so that it goes into an advertising campaign. So that's if you wanna hear all about that, it's a whole new controversial thing that we've started to try to inspire, but they all stepped up. When we kind of put that in place, everybody stepped up. I think they were hoping that we wouldn't do it. So they all started actually marketing, thinking like, well, the mom won't make us pay, but it's still making them pay. Kind of a funny psychology. Thank you. What else? What other marketing challenges do you have? We're all good? That's it? All right, my work is done here. Fantastic. All right, well, so here are some of the things that I've heard. I've talked to a few of you ahead of time to see what's kind of going on in your world, and like any good trainer, facilitator, and a lot of what we do a lot of training in the hospitality and hotel industry. So we get heads in beds, and I don't know what your phrase, maybe cars in spaces, or so we're used to that in working with the people that we work with. But here's some of the things that we've heard and the things that I've just read to really kind of understand what's going on in your world. Some of the things that have come up is social media overwhelm. Does anybody have that? Social media overwhelm. So it's kind of like, which vehicle do we use? Who's gonna do it? How are we gonna stay consistent with the messaging? Anybody, does this ring a bell for anybody? I don't have time for it. Do you know what else? All I have to do all day. Yet we have people on our team who happen to be on Facebook all day, but they don't seem to market or promote us. But they're on Facebook, and you think that maybe because they're there it would help, but it doesn't. Staying consistent with your message. Number 2, website engagement and traffic. Anybody feel that one? Website engagement and traffic, of like, how do we get people to our website, and how do we get them interested in what we're doing? Like, what's the content that we're gonna have? Because if you just throw up the website and it's sitting there and you do nothing with it, right, there's nothing happening, there's no traffic going to the site, because you do need to be making changes on it, you need to be doing things to it. And I know some of this is gonna sound real basic, but I think it's kind of nice to touch on it. And this again is based on talking to some of you and research. Number 3, this was great information for me, and then someone confirmed this for me, is the, from an amenity standpoint and being competitive, right? Like Wi-Fi. Who knew that this would be such a big deal at a campground? That people want to get away, but they want to be connected. Is that true? Right? So it's like you have to have that, correct? I guess the first question I heard this morning was, is there Wi-Fi in this room, right? It's like we can't seem to break away from it. And number 4, reputation management. I think this is a big one. I see this a lot in the hotels that we work with, and I'm sure you probably have this, is managing the negative feedback and reviews. I know that none of you get any negative feedback or reviews at all. And the other thing I've heard with some of our hotel clients is that people posting these negative reviews is actually the threat of negative reviews. Does anyone get that? The threat of negative reviews. If you don't upgrade me or give me what I want, I will write a bad review, right? So how do you manage that from a reputation management standpoint? So it's almost like you're being held hostage, right? We take a lot of pride that Carolina Improv does rank #1 on TripAdvisor for nightlife attractions. That's really cool because we push our people to promote it constantly so that we stay #1, which also increases the traffic to our website and our SEO, et cetera, et cetera. So here's the thing, according to my PowerPoint. You can make your marketing work if you simply find ways to authentically connect to the right audience in a way that they need you to connect with them, right? And I know that's kind of a big, vague thing, but it really breaks down into connection to the right audience and how are you connecting in a way that they want to be connected to, or that resonates with them, or that opens their minds. And I know Dee, you talked about like, where do I even begin, right? And I have a worksheet that we're going to hand out today that may help you a little bit with that, and then we have an expanded version. First, it's like really truly knowing your audience. We're going to get into that, but if you want to improve your marketing, it really starts with something so basic as how do we connect to our audience? Instead of getting stuck in all this overwhelm of all the tactical things you need to do, which is important, but it's about connection. So do you want an easier way? I've got like 3 people who want an easier way, the rest of you like it hard. That's awesome. That is great, because you know what, we're available for hire to help those of you who want to make it hard for yourselves. So here's things we're going to talk about today. Here's what I'm hoping that you're going to learn today. #1, determine your unique selling proposition. So since we don't have the PowerPoint or a handout for this specifically, this is a great thing to take notes on or to put in your laptop. Determine your unique selling proposition. Understand who your ideal clients are. Your ideal guests. Understand who your ideal guests are. #3, create and share your brand message. And we're going to work on this a little bit today. #4, inspire a repeatable experience. I just like that phrase. Inspire a repeatable experience. And at the end, you can learn how we can help you further as a company if you need additional help after that. So quick story about us. It's really pretty on this PowerPoint. We'll send you the deck. So on this PowerPoint, and I wanted you to see the impact of that because it's got 3 different logos. So when we talk about messaging and content, a great example is what we're going through right now as a company. We started out as Carolina Improv Company in 2000. Gosh, it's been a long time. We've really been doing it for a while now. 2008, we started as Carolina Improv Company. We started as an improv theater and school. But when we started, my vision was training and development. And the theater was kind of like that fun hobby for me. But I knew that if I wanted to make a living, I would have to do other things. And training and development is what I wanted to do. We got all these great opportunities along the way, build a theater, make this happen, and so all those things happen in a different order. So the way Carolina Improv developed, it developed a little bit differently than I had anticipated. The training started to happen because people would see me out speaking, or they would come to one of our classes. And I think most all of you are familiar with what improv is. We teach people how to quickly kind of think in the moment, how to get off the script, how to be flexible, how to collaborate, how to really listen to people. So people might come to a class and go, oh, we need this in our business. It's really hard to sell them the concept of it, but when they show up and they go through one of our trainings, they're like, this is exactly what we need. We don't know how to describe it, but we need this. We want to do this. And so that kind of really boosted our business really fast based on that engagement and the word of mouth. But then we started running into a wall of, we had a lot of resistance of, yeah, that's really fun, but we don't have money for fun. We don't want our employees to have too much fun in a training session. We need to know what the return on investment is. Oh, do you do comedy? You're just coming here to teach us how to be funny. And we were running into all of this resistance, and people started pigeonholing us as, oh, they're that entertainment company. Even, and I've presented to you guys before, and even today, when Dana called a few months ago about you guys coming and doing a show tonight, I'm like, hey, what breakout sessions are going on? Am I presenting? Because it's already in everyone's mind that we're entertainment, and so breaking out of that mold got really difficult for us. So I'm like, all right, we need to do something, right? We need to change our message and our marketing. So we temporarily went to Gina and Company, because I didn't know what else to call us, but I knew I needed to get us out of sort of the improv realm, and we went to Gina and Company. Still not really resonating with people, because I'm like, I'm Gina, this is the company, right? So it's still a messaging problem. So we went through a lot in the past year in working with Fortune 500 companies that really wanted to understand return on it. They wanted a return on investment. They wanted to know what we were doing. So we created the Pivot 10 results, because pivot is about shifting, right? It's about quickly moving in the moment to go from here to there. I didn't know it was a basketball term until after the fact, which worked out to my benefit, because every man goes, you know, it's a basketball term. And I'm like, of course I knew that, because a lot of times men are making the decisions, so for the men that don't get what we do, now they think we're basketball, and it works really beautifully for us. The 10, the symbolism of the 10 is on a dime, right? Because we have to be able to change on a dime in our culture, in our business, so that's where the Pivot 10 came in. But the second we changed that messaging and that approach in our marketing, people's ears started to perk up, and they started taking us a little bit more seriously. They weren't looking at us necessarily as that entertainment company. I share that story with you because this is what's so important about making your marketing easier. It's about being really clear with who you are, and who your market is, and who your ideal guests are, and what your story is. And so it takes sometimes a while to really kind of get clear with that. Some of you may have direct opportunity to impact and affect change in your organization. Some may not. Some may be influencers. I say go be the squeaky wheel to make things change. Oh, this is really cute. What makes you unique? That's a cute dog. What makes you... I discovered a new toy called Canva, and you can do an entire PowerPoint in Canva, and it's really pretty. So what makes you unique? So number one, I had talked about unique selling proposition. Your unique selling proposition. I want you to think about the following things. How do you differentiate yourself from the competition? You know, a lot of times we think about, like, I don't really know if we have a lot of competition, so I'm not really thinking about it, but I want you to think about it. What makes you really different and unique? Why should guests choose you over someone else? Does anybody off the top of their head, could you rattle that off to me right now? What makes you different and why should they choose you? Anyone?
In our area, it's a safety reason.
Tell
Our
me more.
campground's safer. We live on site and we have set guidelines compared to another local campground that the police are in and out of, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's important to people,
Mhm.
right? So that's great. So just
That's
really being
very
clear.
important to have peace of mind that you're safe
Good.
in a campground.
And where are you at?
Outside of Spartanburg, South
Okay.
Carolina.
So if I'm going to Spartanburg, I'm seeing you.
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to be clear on that. How do you uniquely create the best experience from reservation to checkout? How are you creating the best experience? Right? Like, we have higher demands today as customers. We have higher expectations. We do a lot of secret shopping as a company now because of that, because we get in and do training, and before we can even do the training, we're like, we need to find out what's really going on. And so a lot of times we'll go in and we'll make that phone call, that first initial call to book, and that first call is a nightmare. I'm so thinking that everything going forward with you is going to be a nightmare, and that's my expectation. So it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy that going forward, I'm just going to be irritating to you as a guest. Does that make sense? Or does anyone ever have that person? It's like, we know we're going there because that's where the kids want to go, but I'm going to make you work for it because that first interaction was horrible. So it's about creating the best possible experience.
And then I'm gonna get something free while I'm there.
And I'm going to write a bad review. You see how this all starts to trickle down because we're not creating the best experience from the very beginning. when I started our company, I was the general manager of the IMAX Theater at Broadway. Oh, Heather worked for me there. Look, she's still with me, she followed me. I noticed really quickly that some of my employees it just wasn't happening. It's so hard to find good help. It's so hard. So I brought in a company like ours that did